Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live, our weekly show here on the internet. And well, this week I've got a couple things that I want to cover that are fall related. So if you've seen the title of this week's episode, and if you've seen a weather forecast, it's going to be relevant. But first, before we get started, of course, you can find us online at Bob's Market, and that is on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and also on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, you can find us there at Bob's Market also. And speaking of TikTok, I wanted to start out this week's episode with a TikTok video that I just posted this morning. So let's check it out. So that is our apple butter. And a lot of people don't know, but we actually make our apple butter that we sell in our stores right down here at our Mason Market out in the parking lot. So we set up a tent and we have the copper kettle under the tent with a wood fire. And over in one of our warehouses, we have a little kitchen area. And we have a crew of people that come in, cut up apples, and we make, this time of year, about 50 gallons of apple butter a day. And then we jar it up, and over the course of a couple weeks, we do probably a few hundred gallons of apple butter that we jar up to sell throughout the year. So anytime you stop in your local Bob's Market and you see apple butter for sale, it was made right here in Mason, West Virginia. So that's pretty cool, and it's something kind of unique that we do. Um, of course, right now we're in the middle of fall, and the leaves are just gorgeous right now. I was out actually yesterday taking some photos. So I wanted to remind you that right now we're having our fall photo contest, and you can find it over at bobsmarket.com on our website at bobsmarket.com/contest. Or if you just go to our homepage at bobsmarket.com, there's a button that takes you over to the photo contest where it has all of the rules for entry and everything. And oh yeah, Gloria, great saying. That's so cool and a lot of hard work. And yeah, there was let's see, probably 10 people today working on apple butter altogether. So we have a crew of people that work on it each day. Um, if you get our email notifications, and you can also sign up for that over on our website at bobsmarket.com. If you get those notifications, you will have just gotten an email concerning the weather. And that is because we have a frost, or not a frost advisory, a freeze warning right now. So actually right now the current weather is 48 degrees outside, which is pretty chilly. But the low tonight is going to be 28. So we are having, this year, it just worked out weird for our area. Normally we have some frosty mornings. But this year we're skipping that and going straight to a hard freeze. So that's going to be interesting both for leaves coming off of the trees and also for plants. So it's going to be, not kind of easing into cold weather. We're going bam right into it. And I'm sending out the freeze warning for today. But if you look at the forecast going forward, we're having freezing temperatures pretty much the rest of this week. And it looks like we're going to warm up a little bit going into next week. But we're going to have a few days of freezing temperatures every night. So I'm not going to send out a freeze warning for every single night because we're at that time of year where you can pretty much expect freezing temperatures. And, it's kind of bittersweet, I guess. I like fall. It's less work for me to do outside as far as taking care of the garden. Uh, but, it's kind of sad to see the leaves and everything go for the winter. But yeah, if I click on it here, of course, that's probably too small to read. But if you head over to our website right now, I also have the full text of the freeze warning available, which it basically says, to take inside any plants. Actually, I got a call earlier today. It was somebody who's kind of new to taking care of some different types of plants and called me for help knowing what they need to take in and what would be safe to leave outside. Basically, if it's a house plant and you've got it outside during the summer, you want to take it in tonight. Some other plants you might be able to cover up and protect them maybe through 1 or 2 freezes, but with the temperatures we're going to be having, you're fighting a losing battle. So with this cold weather coming, that means that the leaves that haven't changed are going to be changing, and we're going to start seeing leaves dropping. So I was talking about the photo contest earlier. It also means that you're going to be raking up some leaves. So that is the other thing that I wanted to talk about this evening, and that is different ways to use fall leaves. And over on our website, I've included it in the show notes for this episode. So again, if you head over to bobsmarket.com, you can pull open the show notes, where we have a blog post on 5 different ways to use fall leaves. And oh, there we go. I lost my mouse for a second. But there's a few simple ways, and I'm going to kind of scroll down through this blog post and give you some of the most popular ways. And of course, the most popular way to use them is to compost them. Leaves are absolutely garden gold. It always pains my heart. I have relatives that live kind of in the suburbs of Columbus. And this time of year, when you drive into the suburbs, every weekend it seems like you'll see bags of leaves setting out at the curb to be picked up. And I think Columbus, they do a leaf like recycling program because they put them in like paper bags. So I know they do mulch them, but I think the city uses them. I'm not sure if people can get them back. But this time of year, I become a leaf hoarder because they are amazing in the garden. Back when I used to grow a victory style garden, I would just coat the entire garden in leaves and let it sit there and compost during the wintertime. If you have a smaller yard, you can bag up the leaves and kind of save them for later. So put them in a dry place where they're kind of protected and save them. Because the one thing that you don't want to do is dump a huge amount of leaves into your compost pile if you're composting them. because they're a brown. In composting, you have greens and browns, and you kind of want to have a balance between the two. So this time of year, if you're putting a ton of leaves in there, it can kind of add too much carbon into your compost, and it can slow down the decomposition process of the compost. And going into wintertime, you especially don't want that to happen because the natural process of the compost pile is going to slow down anyway because of the colder temperatures. So if you kind of squirrel away some leaves somewhere else and add them in slowly, that kind of helps. Another route that you can go is making a leaf mold, which it's sort of loosely related to compost, but it's specifically just leaves. And that's what a lot of cities do that collect leaves. Uh, I know, like, Huntington does it. Marshall University, when I was at Marshall in college, uh, they suck up all their leaves with like a big vacuum truck, and then they make leaf mold. And then in the springtime, they compost all, or they mulch all their flower beds with that leaf mold. So you can do the same thing on a smaller scale. And it's just creating a pile of leaves that you're letting compost naturally, and it breaks down into this beautiful mulch. And speaking of mulch, that is the next thing that you can do. You can shred up the leaves and just use them directly on your flower beds as a mulch. So, I've seen this done with just regular leaves, but also if you have a lot of pine trees, you can rake up those needles and also use them as a mulch material. And I already said hoard them. That's the other thing that I mentioned in this blog post. And then the last thing is perhaps the easiest way to deal with your fall leaves, and that is just to mow them into the lawn. That's something that I used to do when I lived at a house that had a lot of trees around it. Um, the house that my wife and I bought that we currently live in, it doesn't have any trees on the property aside from one, I think it's 3 years old now, apple tree that I planted, and the poor little cherry tree that you saw last winter in an episode of Bob's Live that got smashed by the ice storm, which it's still hanging in there. But with those two trees, I really don't have a lot of leaves to deal with, so I can just mow them over. But back when I lived at a house that had a lot of trees around it, I would kind of rake up the leaves into piles, then run over them with the riding lawnmower and mulch them up. And then I would kind of rake that and spread it out into the lawn. And by springtime, it would completely break down and disappear. So that's another way that you can deal with leaves. So this is 5 ways to use fall leaves. And let's see, I published this, it was in November of 2018. So this week I'm going to be doing a blog post, and I've got to put on my thinking cap for it. I've got some ideas, but we're going to do 5 more ways to use fall leaves. So we're going to get creative with the next blog post. So you can find that on our blog this coming Friday. And of course, always on our website, under the how-to section, you can go down here to subscribe. And if you click on it, it takes you to a form where you can subscribe to get weekly emails. So things like our blog posts, recipes, and now also episodes of Bob's Live, you can get in a handy email format. So the Bob's Live episodes, I actually send those emails out about a half hour before the episode starts. So that serves as a reminder and then also an easy way to click through to watch the episode. And right now, if I jump back to our homepage on our website, up at the top there's a banner that's slightly cut off here, but that's where you can access the freeze warning information. And then also have like the current weather and all that good stuff. And also on our homepage, you can visit our new Bob's Live section, which I just built it out. Let's see, 7 weeks ago. So it hasn't been up for too long. But you can find previous episodes of Bob's Live. Okay, it didn't automatically play. I didn't want to like create a weird mirroring issue here. But you can also find our show notes for each episode. So this is this week's episode of Bob's Live. And then down here in the Dig Deeper section, I have the article that we were just looking at, and then also a link to the fall photo contest. So I'll always put extra information down in the Dig Deeper section. And we're getting kind of meta here, so I am going to move on. Well, that is our episode for this week. So when it comes to fall leaves, there's always tons of different ways that you can use them. And we covered 5 this evening. We'll be having 5 more this Friday. So until next time, keep growing.